There was a time when Ian Connor claimed himself the king of youth. But with youth comes immaturity and impulsiveness. So Ian never really took off, but he never completely fell off. And now, he's the king of stunted growth. In 1993, Ian Connor was born in New York. When he was 9, his family packed up and moved to Atlanta. In the formative years to follow, Ian became involved in a pretty mixed crowd. He was into skateboarding, fashion, hip-hop, and artsy circles. Keep in mind, oftentimes these are outsider groups. Ian claims to have no idea who his father is and has a disconnected relationship with his mom, and he dropped out of school in the 9th grade. Ian spent most of his time on the streets, kind of like a millennial gypsy. He's a short guy, standing only at 5'5". And in his own words, he states with absolute confidence that he's ugly. Charmingly ugly, but ugly nonetheless. His background, paired with his gift of expression, were key ingredients to making him extremely keen on how to stand out. Being cool is a skill that he had to learn in order to cope with some environmental and physical shortcomings that he's dealt with. At age 18, he headed back to New York City and started to establish his reputation as a Tumblr-era cool kid, the next generation of urban socialites. As his unique fashion and appearance began to gain recognition, he started hanging out with budding fashion designers like Glenn Brown. They worked together on a streetwear startup called L3NF. Soon, avant-garde t-shirt artist Will Fry decided to put Ian's distinct mug on a jersey, and Ian's popularity began to increase. With his head slightly bowed, his eyes looking forward, the King of Youth was ready to receive his crown. In 2013, Theophilus London met Ian and took him under his wing. This celebrity connection allowed Ian to work with Wiz Khalifa as a stylist. As the domino effect continued, Ian was introduced to A$AP Bari, and he worked as a visual collaborator for the A$AP Mob through 2014. In 2015, Ian used his expanding social media reach to bring Playboi Carti into the limelight. While managing Carti, Connor himself got put on by Kanye West as a creative consultant. Ian extended his services as a stylist and model for Yeezy Season, A Bathing Ape, Off-White, and Alix. In a few short years, he became an industry tastemaker, responsible for crafting images of Kylie Jenner and V-Lone, A$AP Bari's fashion line. He was constantly seen with rappers, media personalities, and the fashion it crowd. So what's his appeal? On the surface, he's got a great eye for curation. Like Luka Sabat, he's supremely comfortable with the it crowd. He's got multiple interests that make their way into his persona. In some ways, he's got a reality show vibe to him. Ian Connor doesn't rap or make music, but he is around influential musicians. He's like a mascot for hip-hop, luxury streetwear, and disillusioned consumer youth. There's an underlying darkness and destructive quality to him. He doesn't come off as a protagonist or hero. He's meticulously crafted his image as a wild card. He's immersed in a materialistic existence, but seems intent on finding the artistic meaning of it all. On the surface, Ian might seem dismissive or aloof, maybe too cool for the room. But look a little deeper, and he shows signs of someone who's been hurt. Someone who's trying to heal their wounds through money, flexing, and gratification. He's got 2 brands under his belt, and look at their names. Revenge Storm and Sicko Born from Pain. For a guy coming up in his lane, there's tons of reasons to be optimistic. But in 2016, Ian Connor's dark and edgy aura went to another level. He's been publicly accused of rape by 6 women, and a total of 21 women have collectively come together in opposition of him. Spearheading the campaign against him was Amber Rose, and they got into an open feud on Twitter. His social circle began to collapse amid the controversy, and he got into a brawl with Theophilus and A$AP Bari. This caused a huge falling out with them, as he was later called a rapist by his former friend and mentor. Bari would go on to meet a similar fate a year later, as a video of him potentially committing sexual assault hit the web. Though there hasn't been any conclusive evidence, Ian Connor's reputation was considerably tainted. He hasn't been incredibly active, as Kanye, Virgil, and the ASAP mob has placed some noticeable distance away from him. And for some reason, despite having a few industry supporters, Ian doesn't vehemently fight to proclaim his innocence. He continues to stay flexing and brooding, usually meeting criticism with insults and cryptic statements. The truth of what happened between Ian Connor and his accusers will forever remain between them, but given his potentially turbulent background, it's easy to speculate that Ian can be overtaken by darkness, leaving him open to recreating chaotic situations. Though he's slowly making his way back to the it crowd, it's not with any definitive authority. Maybe he's never been one to fight for the spotlight. If so, how's he gonna find a new support role? We can draw some comparisons to Ian Connor. In some ways, he's like Meek or Kanye, consistently dealing with emotional imbalances. However, Meek has streetwear as a creative outlet. Kanye has music and ranting. What does Ian have? What's the vehicle for his voice? Honestly, Ian Connor is most like the downtown Don, Aaron Bondaroff. Aaron was a New York street kid that hung out with the original Supreme crew in the early 90s. He worked in the shop and as a model, and eventually a creative collaborator. Before social media, Aaron's name would spread globally, but he remained an underground style king. He would go on to create the streetwear brand, A New York Thing, in the early days of hype culture. A maturing Bondaroff eventually moved on to start a successful art gallery, but that all came crashing down after he began facing allegations of sexual assault. So what are Ian's mistakes? Where did it all go wrong? Was it wrong for him to take a step back when the rape accusations came? Or should he have used it as a moment to take a stand? It's difficult to say he did the right thing, and it's hard to understand why he became self-destructive. Should Ian Connor redeem himself? How? What was he supposed to be to begin with? There are many options in front of him while his career was on the rise. Was he on track to be another Virgil Abloh as a creative director and designer? Was he on track to being another Luka Sabat, a model and entertainment personality? Was he on track to being a major influencer like the Kardashians? One thing is clear. Whatever his product is, it has to evolve and be rebuilt. The question is, how is he supposed to do it? He's talented, unique, and articulate, but it's clear that he's in an unhealthy environment. The way his social circle interacts is bizarre, inhuman, and disconnected. Honestly, why do grown adults get into Twitter arguments, especially with people they know personally? In this world, social status is more important than valuable relationships. Looks are more important than substance. He's living on the dark side of fame and money, and falling into the same traps that so many young people do. We want to see him succeed and find the light. Ian said so himself. He wants to leave a legacy. Sure, he's influenced the look of the hip-hop bourgeoisie, but for someone so influential, this surely can't be the extent of his abilities. If Ian didn't let his impulses or need for constant validation take control, he could spearhead major projects. He could surpass the reach of his peers and become a real mogul in the fashion and music world. Even though he might have started out as a perceived hanger-on, Ian Connor could slowly build his own platform. If that wasn't his original intention, he could have at least gone out in a fiery blaze of glory. As a precaution, here's how not to wind up where Ian is. 1. Find a genuine outlet for your expression. Don't let it depend on someone else's decisions. 2. Transform your pain into progress. When you create the vehicle for your voice, success will come from within. 3. Practice discipline. There's never a short supply of cheap thrills or petty battles, so why should you indulge in each one you come across? Ian Connor came into the game owning up to what he was, a misfit who knew a little bit more than you. He can make a comeback if he owns up to what he is now, a fallen star who wants to climb back up to the top. Sometimes, you have to put your ego aside to evolve. That's what it means to push product.
What do you think about Ian Connor? Do you think he's guilty of committing sexual assault? Do you think he's innocent and he was treated unfairly? Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Do you think he could have become the next Virgil Abloh? Do you still think there's a chance of him becoming the next big name in fashion? Let us know in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want to keep seeing videos like this one. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we drop new content. Also, help us by donating to our Patreon. The link is in the description below.
One last thing before we let you go. Check out our Instagram and hit the follow button to stay connected to the latest independent artists. If you would like to be featured, send us a DM and tell us why we should feature you. Thank you.